Hey! Welcome to
Intrusivity.
episode 4. You can't sit with us.
So, what are we drinking this week?
I'm drinking a Yorkshire tea. I nearly forgot the name then, sorry guys. It's
What are you drinking? I forgot.
It's Yorkshire tea, but it's biscuit flavoured tea and it's so nice. We used to drink this all the time, didn't we? And then we stopped buying it, but I've nicked one of Michael's, so thank you! But no, this is really nice. What are you drinking?
So, I've got cranberry and raspberry Twinings tea because I do have a bit of cramp at the moment and it's killing me off. I'm not gonna lie.
Not a vibe.
But the podcast must go on.
Yes, we do have a little plate here with blondies on there.
Yeah.
I thought they were brownies at first, but they're blonde. But yeah, we got these from Lidl the other day, didn't we? And we wanted to try them, so you can see them nibbling on them later on. So today's podcast is going to be about epilepsy and the causes, and then we'll probably trail on to some other triggers like, mental health and things like that. So I'm going to hand over to Kelly, because she's the brainy one.
Hey.
So can you tell us, because I didn't know this till the other day actually, when we spoke about epilepsy the other day, and we were saying people that are photosensitive, couldn't get my words out then, there's not actually that many, is there?
No, so I think it's either the 23 or 33% of epileptics are photosensitive.
See, I thought I know a lot of people were going to say it.
It's like a minority of epileptics.
Yeah.
So basically, photosensitive, all that means is they are triggered by the flashing lights. Their seizures are brought on by that constant flashing.
Would you say things like festivals or when you go to concerts, the constant flashing lights, something like that? Right, okay.
Yeah. So obviously you will see on even Instagram stories, warning flashing lights.
Yeah.
And it's basically just warning people that, if you're photosensitive, be careful, be mindful. I mean, we went to York recently, me and my partner did, with his best friend, who's also kind of like one of my close friends now too.
It's always a bonus.
And her partner. And when we went into their dungeons, they had the same, flashing light warning, please make us aware if you do have epilepsy, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But, I think because that signage is around to protect that 33%, it's actually misleads people to think that it's the majority of epileptics that have it, when actually, especially myself, my triggers are recognised as stress, tiredness, so like a lack of sleep. And when I say lack of sleep, I don't mean one night, I mean like continuous nights of just not sleeping.
Or not having enough sleep.
Yeah, that happens a lot. So it's borderline insomnia with me. So basically I can be awake all night, get up in the morning without barely any sleep at all. I'd say maybe an hour of intermittent drifting off, waking up, drifting off, waking up.
Yeah.
And then I'll just get out of bed. And I have been to a sleep hygienist who spoke to me about ways to improve that kind of pattern of sleep. But also, being very overwhelmed in heightened emotion, but negative emotion. So, when I've had a massive family argument, or, especially when my dad passed away, that made me, I had a seizure at his funeral. It was really, really just an awful situation, obviously.
It's it's like a lot mentally, isn't it?
I mean, when I say heightened emotion, people are like, oh God, so you can't get upset about having a seizure. No, it's that very intense, overwhelming, bawling your eyes out,
getting really stressed out,
control your emotions, that kind of intensive kind of behaviour. Whereas, I can get stressed without having a seizure. God, I work in A&E, for God's sake.
I was going to say, stress comes with the job.
Yeah, I don't go to work and start having seizures because someone shouted at me.
Yeah.
But, it's to a very intense form.
Yeah.
Like you don't just get stressed out over I've spilled my tea.
Yeah.
You know,
You just knocked the table off. Great.
I'm having a seizure, but it you know, it is that very overwhelming, powerful, intense. And it's the same with sleep. Like people can say, "Oh, well, I only slept for like 4 hours last night."
Yeah.
But I normally run off 4 hours a night.
Yeah, that's
so when
that's
I
the
haven't
normality.
had 4 hours, you know, that's for me
a higher risk.
You know, I've probably had an hour of in and out, drifting off, waking up, drifting off, waking up, drifting. And you know, it's that intermittent sleep where you feel like you just haven't slept anyway. There was no point in drifting off. So you know that they're my triggers, but also being unwell, infections, pregnancy, that major sort of strain on your body all puts you at risk of seizures.
Yeah.
So they're my triggers, and obviously everyone will have different triggers and ways of managing them.
Yeah.
You know, some people don't have sort of psychological triggers because that's what I classify mine as.
Yeah, well,
because,
I assume they are though, aren't
stress,
they? Really,
fatigue, well, tiredness. It's all mindset, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Like if I didn't get that worked up, that overwhelmed, that intense in my emotions, would have I have had a seizure? No, and there is an element of ways I can control that.
Yeah.
Whereas there are epileptics out there that literally do not have that choice.
Yeah, like they don't know what causes them to have seizures. Like yours, obviously, the scientific name for it is
idiopathic.
And I thought it was really funny because I thought it literally was calling out an idiot, which I thought was funny to take the mick out. But no, you're not an idiot. But you know, I'm sure is that the kind of one that you know is like, oh, it doesn't really have any triggers. The only reason we know that Kelly has these kinds of triggers is because every time she was to say have the seizure or have an epileptic seizure, it would be around where there is heightened stress or heightened emotion or you've not really been sleeping. So I feel like for us, we've kind of gone this and this, we put two and two together and we've made it, you know, so, but it's not going to be like that for everyone, so don't just assume that
I think recognising patterns of, you know, causes, triggers, etc. It does give you that element of control because if you can break that pattern, you might be able to reduce the amount of seizures you're having.
Yeah.
However, people that have seizures due to, say, brain injury, they don't have that element of control.
Yeah.
So, you know,
that's the only.
I'm not speaking for all epileptics, I'm speaking for people that have a similar onset to me.
Yeah.
So, you know, epilepsy comes in so many different forms, and you will find as well non-epileptic seizures, which I find quite interesting. So basically, you'll do this training, and it's really, really good, but we have a training session about Oliver McGowan, I believe his name is.
Okay.
And basically, he had, I think it's autism. Don't quote me on this, but please go and look it up because his story is fantastic. But the way he died was so traumatic.
Yeah.
But I feel for his parents so much because people didn't understand his seizures.
Right, okay.
So basically, when Oliver had a seizure, it wasn't an epileptic seizure.
Okay.
He'd become very distressed, very panicked, very anxious. He'd wander, but he wouldn't necessarily have like control over what he was doing.
Yeah.
And because they didn't know how to manage him and they didn't know how to cope with him, they used like sedation.
Okay.
And antipsychotics, I believe.
Yeah.
Like I say, please go look it up for all the facts because I'm doing this off the top of my head. But basically, you know, the story was that people didn't understand him, so they mismanaged him so far.
Yeah.
And it was even put in his care plans, you know, I should not have these drugs. I have, you know, adverse side effects to these drugs. I shouldn't take them. But when Oliver's condition became more challenging, they gave him them drugs anyway.
Yeah.
And over a period of time, I think it was edema to his brain. He had a lot of fluid on his brain and swelling. And this boy, he was, I think, 19, and he went from what was going to be an amazing athlete, even like regardless of all of his disabilities and things.
Yeah.
He was doing so well. He was very independent. He was going to be an athlete, for God's sake, you know.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes. I can be an athlete.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, he went from being that independent, athletic guy to someone who didn't even recognise speech anymore, couldn't eat for himself.
So
And
literally that flipped the whole
literally
script.
the flip side.
So wow,
and
that's
obviously,
crazy.
eventually he did pass away, which
Yeah.
was really awful. But you know, I think the more you learn about a person's condition, especially in our work environment, when you come to work with us,
definitely.
you know, you have to learn. So just because this seizure doesn't look like the seizure you're used to, it doesn't mean it's not real for them.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Oliver's seizures were non-epileptic seizures.
Yeah.
And
but they were still seizures.
But you know, that was his form of seizure. You still have to treat him as he needed to be treated.
Yeah.
In those times, he needed that comfort, that reassurance that you know, you're okay. Rather than, you know, he was restrained quite heavily.
Yeah.
You know, and that wasn't always needed. You
know,
like let him wander, let him do what he needs to do to come out of that episode.
Yeah.
And you know, in A&E especially, we see what are called pseudo seizures. Obviously, all of the seizures weren't pseudo seizures, but the term pseudo, it's kind of like, so basically
it's not real, but it is.
We will have a number of patients, and it's hard to say this because you don't want to lay judgment on anybody.
Yeah.
But there are people out there that will fake a seizure, and you know, there may be so many reasons why this is happening. However, there are also people that have non-epileptic seizures that, you know, it's a mental state, and to them it's a seizure. You know, it looks like a full seizure, but where the electrical activity, you know, misfires for a seizure, like it would in me as an epileptic, for them it's more of a mental state. Yeah. So it's real for them. To them, it's really happening. Yeah. And they don't always remember it. You know, it would present as an epileptic seizure. However, you know, the vital signs would still be stable. Yeah. Because it's a mental state. It's not. Do you know what I mean? It's not brain activity.
Yeah, like
you know
it's not. It's not. It's like
it's hard.
It's your brain, but it's not the electrodes in your brain doing things. Yeah. It's your brain.
It's
the mental side.
State.
Yeah.
Rather than a
medical.
It's hard to say medical because
they're both
the psychological
medical.
state is still medical. But,
yeah.
You know,
I'm sure you guys will get what
the
we
way
mean.
It works is very different. Yeah. So in me, I have no control over it. Yeah. Just like in them, they have no control over it. Yeah. But theirs is a psychological state, whereas mine is the, you know, electrical misfires going off in my brain. Yeah. That, you know, they're not talking to each other properly. I can't function. Yeah. Whereas for them, it's psychological, and you know, it's identifying who the patients are having real seizures, who the patients are in this psychological state where the seizure is real for them. It's a non-epileptic seizure, but it's still a seizure, and we still need to treat them. Yeah, how you would if someone did have an epileptic seizure, I suppose. All of the reassurance and the care and the empathy and everything that they deserve. Definitely. As well as those patients that actually, they're not having any kind of seizure, they're putting it on. Yeah. You know, and for those people, I feel like we should be identifying if there's a mental health background, identifying why are you putting this on, why are you, and what's the reason behind this, like what is making do that kind of thing. Yeah, I get what you know, because even this is my opinion, and it might differ from a lot of people's opinions, but I think that medical, especially mental health, medical problems go through fashions and trends. And, you know, not everyone's going to agree with this, and I really appreciate that. And I can see why it's a very controversial opinion. However, it's like the whole, oh, I'm OCD about it.
Yeah,
people with
that.
actual OCD will get really peeved off because they feel like they're taken less seriously
Because
now everyone's got it.
Yeah, because people.
But actually, not everyone does have it.
Yeah, I mean, people with like. It's alright. People with like OCD, for example, like I personally I don't know anybody with it, but I know there's people out there that really struggle to leave the house because they have to do a certain routine, and if it's not done right, they physically cannot leave the house. Like, they might have to turn on the light switch 3 or 4 times or touch the tap so many times, but sometimes it's not just that, it also comes with the thoughts. Like, I remember, I think I was watching something, and I can't remember what it's called, so bear with, but there's a program somewhere in the world where it talks about people that have this OCD, and this woman, lady or gentleman, I can't really remember, but just to say lady, just a perspective, she would wake in the morning and she'd say, like, if her knee had brushed past the edge of her bed, she'd get the thought of, if your knee doesn't touch the end of this bed again, you're going to fall down the stairs. Or it can be even worse than that, like, your sister's going to die. And it's like, it's not going to happen. Nearly threw my tea everywhere. Your sister's not going to die, but for them, mentally, they really struggle with things like that because that's what they've got to live with. Whereas some people, like, for example, when you're at school and you've got your nice little neat pad and your pencils, you can't touch my pens because I'm OCD. That, I wouldn't really, no, you're just a bit of a neat freak for me. Like, that's literally what it is. Like, you like things to be neat. You've not got OCD. I mean, if you were to get it, some people do have to be treated for it, but it's a lot to deal with. And I think it's the whole with, it can go into like the whole ADHD and everything, can't it though? Like, if someone's too hyperactive, oh, they've got ADHD. Oh, someone's not being distracted too easily. Oh, I've got ADHD. No, there are people in the world that do have these proper medical conditions who are going through the help and have to be medicated on whatever other things they, have in place, that do genuinely need the help. But then you've got people that are like, oh, but I've got ADHD because I'm too hyper. And it's like, you can have traits of ADHD but not actually have it. Like, I feel sometimes there's certain things where I get distracted quite easily. So I'll start one job but then move on to another. I know that's a trait of ADHD, but I know I don't have it.
Yeah.
It's just the way that I am. Whereas I know that, other people will really struggle to get housing, like jobs around the house done because of it. So, but anyway.
But I think social media doesn't always help because, there's a lot of platforms that want to build awareness, but also a lot of platforms that will say, I've been researching ADHD since my mental health team thought that it's a possibility I have it, and I'm awaiting diagnosis. But since I've been researching it, things keep popping up, especially on Instagram Reels. Oh, you've got ADHD if you do these 5 things.
The same with TikTok. That comes up on my TikTok a lot.
I don't have TikTok, but it's when I went for my ADHD assessment, they gave me a questionnaire, and I tell you now, there is way more than 5 things on that sheet. And you have to score a certain amount, and then go through actual diagnostic procedures to an assessment to formally say I have ADHD,
like for a full-on diagnosis of it.
It's a bit like the whole, and I see this a lot at work. People come up to me and say, "Oh, I need to eat. I think I'm having a hypo." And obviously, a hypo is a medical emergency because it can lead to brain damage if it's not treated. So I take that quite seriously, being the diabetes linking department. But as any medical professional should take diabetes and hypo seriously. But so I will say to them, oh, are you diabetic? And they're like, no, I just haven't eaten. So
See, for me,
I'm like, well,
you can't really
don't
say
go
that.
around saying I have hypo, because actually
Mm,
the resilience that you have not being diabetic
yeah,
to not eating is so different to the resilience I have being a diabetic that hasn't
yeah,
eaten. So, you know, and it's that misinformation out there that, you know, oh, if you don't do this, you've got this. Well,
yeah,
it's not as easy as that, guys. And if you're going to sit there and say, I have this, what I think should be happening is, well, do you have a formal diagnosis? Have you gone through the proper assessments and procedures and
to
investigations
to get to
say,
that.
I have this diagnosis?
Because if you haven't, please don't sit there and say that you have something when you may not have it.
Because also, when you come into hospital, it changes the way we treat you.
Yeah.
It changes our plan. It changes our management for you. Because obviously, say if you've got asthma, for example, and you can't take ibuprofen, well, that's fine. Ibuprofen does, you know, trigger some asthmatic.
Yeah.
However, if ibuprofen didn't work for you one time, that doesn't mean you're allergic to it.
Yeah. Or like if you've tried paracetamol in the past and you felt like it's not worked, I'm going to say not worked. For me, it's have you taken it? Because it even states on the packet you have to take at least 2 tablets every 4 hours with water or with food. And I feel like some people just go, oh, I'll just take 2 tablets now and have a bit of water. And then 4 hours later, it's like, oh, my headaches come back or whatever the pain is. It's like, try to keep regular with it because I will hold my hands up. I've been one of the people. Oh, paracetamol doesn't work. It's like Smarties, and it's like no.
It's actually a pretty good drug.
It is because I remember. I mean, even after having my youngest, you know, headaches and not sleeping and everything. I think I got more headaches to be fair, and with breastfeeding, I hand it to people that do that because Jesus, that hurt. But for me, obviously, for the pain, the one thing that I thought was safe to take, obviously, that you whilst you're breastfeeding, you have to be very careful as well. Obviously, paracetamol was a good one to take, and for me, it did really help. Whereas for other people, it might not actually help, so they might have to have something different because of other reasons, not because it didn't work, because of other reasons. You know, like they might have they might actually be allergic to it or whatnot, but
just drawing back to where this started. So I just think, you know, social media doesn't help all the time. You know, the whole Google diagnosing, oh, I searched on Google, I have this.
Yeah.
You know, it's not how diagnosis works. It's not how it should work.
No. It can be long,
and
though.
for example, you know, and we are kind of straying off topic a little bit here, but I used NHS 111 yesterday.
Oh, actually, no, this links in quite well because I feel like this is something that needs to be spoken about because this is just, in my opinion, I feel like it's ridiculous. So carry on.
I understand the kind of rationale behind it. However, I didn't speak to a clinician. I didn't speak to anybody. So I've got quite awful pain at the moment here, and it's driving me up the wall. Now, I'm quite happy to say that I think I know what's going on, and I've, you know, spoken to my GP finally this morning, and we've agreed to just up some of my medications, which I've done today.
Yeah.
So hopefully this should settle in a couple of days.
Excuse me.
When I went on NHS 111 yesterday, because pain got pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I just went on their symptom checker. And I was going through the different symptoms, you know, are you pregnant? No. Have you vomited? No. Blah, blah, blah. And it got to, have you felt faint because of the pain? And I put yes, because earlier in the day when I was getting the bus home, when I stood up and I was like, whoa, I'm going to go.
This is not good.
On the bus, and the bus driver was a bit of a... Because I even said to him, you know, the bus stops up the street from me.
Yeah.
And I appreciate bus drivers, you might not be able to do this, and that is fair enough. But we hit traffic lights quite close to my house, and I said to him, do you mind if I just get off here? again, I appreciate if you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But
someone did that today actually when I was on the bus, so...
See, annoying. Happens when you don't need it to. When you need it to, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But he was like, no, I can't do that. And I was like, no, that's fine. And then, obviously, I felt really faint. And I said to him, look, I'm just not feeling great. Can I get off? And he was like, no.
Yeah.
And I was like, great. I'll just collapse on the bus, I guess.
Yeah. Make this bus go out of use. But, you know.
Thankfully I didn't collapse. I just felt very, lightheaded. I was, getting wobbly. It might be just because I hadn't really eaten that much.
Yeah. There's other factors to it.
So, obviously, when I was going through NHS 111 symptom check, I was like, to be fair, when the pain got really intense earlier on, I did feel faint. But I did feel faint. I clicked that. The next thing that comes up, call 999 now. And I was like,
yeah.
No. Absolutely not. I know what I'm having for dinner. No way am I calling 999.
I feel like, sorry to interrupt, I feel like for people like me, who, you're very medically involved. Like, yes, obviously, you work in A&E, and I will be working there soon, but because I think you wanted to become a doctor, and you're very interested in certain things, even for me, using the app, I don't like to use it all the time, because usually it says call 999 or go to hospital. It's like there's so many reasons. Like for some reason, like I'm trying to think of an example. My brain's now not working. But if I felt unwell, for example, I had a headache for like a couple of days, and I was like, look, the pain's getting really bad. I can't see, like I can't walk, whatever. But the first thing I do is call the GP. If the GP can't help me, no doubt probably call you and be like, what's wrong with me? But there's a lot. We're just a weird family. It's just, but like
they're
in
the
that
most
sense,
medically needy family I know.
How nice. No, but
in the nicest way possible. I am probably the most medically disastrous person.
Yeah.
Known to man, right?
Yeah,
my
I'd agree with
doctor
you.
friends are sick of me
because
I'm constantly like, quick question, and they're like, what's wrong with you now? And I'm like, but all I'm trying to do is gain a little bit of advice so that I can avoid going to hospital if needed.
Yeah.
And obviously I do consult my GPs, I do consult my specialists. My diabetes team, for example, I email my consultant and he emails me back.
But that's a good thing to have, though.
So I don't just bombard my doctor friends with, oh, do you think I've got this?
Yeah.
But it's just getting that secondary opinion, because if I went to A&E, I've got a set expectation of what they're going to do for me.
Yeah.
Because if my friend, who is, near enough consultant, said to me, oh, well, you probably could benefit from a CT scan, I'm like, fair enough, can't do that then.
Yeah.
But if he said to me, do you know what, Cal, just put your feet at rest, get a hot water bottle, you should be fine. I don't need to do that in hospital, do you know what I mean?
So, or like if it's something that just needs a hot water bottle and paracetamol, just do it at home.
Exactly, and that's literally what I did yesterday.
Yeah.
And as soon as I seen that call 999 now, I was like, no.
Absolutely
because
not.
As much as I am a healthcare assistant, I am not an expert, I'm not professional, I'm not registered, I haven't been to uni, well, I went to uni, but, I'm not
qualified doctor or anything like that.
I don't know everything.
Yeah.
And as much as this podcast is here to educate people, no one on this planet knows everything.
No.
You don't. Every day is a learning day, and I say that all the time at work.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more.
And but when you work in A&E, you start to pick up, what could this be?
Yeah.
So I knew, the pain's here, right?
Yeah.
I know I'm not having a heart attack,
No.
I know
pain's in the wrong place for that.
Yeah, but in women, heart attacks present differently.
Okay, which is true.
Yeah, so in men tend to get the classical tightness in the chest, left arm.
Yeah.
In women, I don't know
Fun
why.
fact!
Women seem to present heart attacks in like a million different ways.
There you go. So you've now learnt something new today. If you didn't know that, You do
that
now.
does not mean every time you get symptoms you have a heart attack. Don't take that.
Yeah, please don't comment below being like, I think I'm having a heart attack. No, it might be.
Heart attack.
No, we're just saying men and women are very different with, I think, a lot of things. And I feel like men will present differently to how women do. But it doesn't always go to say that women can also have the normal symptoms of having a heart attack. I don't know why I did the air quotes, but having a heart attack. But please don't then go, oh my God, I've got cramp in my leg, I'm having a heart attack. No, you might just have cramp. Like, please don't hold that to us.
So basically, you know, I do get advice, and I think it's better that way, because I don't want to keep going to A&E as much as I love my colleagues. Don't miss you that much when I'm not at work. You know,
I feel like for you though as well, like you getting this advice, when like I need to ask you a question for advice, or like another family member, you can kind of say, look, you might not actually need to go to hospital, call your GP. This is what you could do to manage it. I mean, and as that's an advice as a daughter, granddaughter, sister, whatever. And I think that's what's good about that kind of relationship we all have together, is that we can just give each other advice, which is what we're doing for you guys.
Oh, we've rambled a bit.
Yeah, we have, but it's a good conversation for you guys.
So I think like the important the summary of this is basically, you know, step 1, epileptics. There are different types of epilepsy. Please treat everyone with kind of some empathy. And, you know, if their seizure isn't an epileptic seizure, it doesn't mean that what they're going through isn't real. So just be nice, be kind. That is
be respectful.
All I ask you know. And secondly, there are different ways of management, and we've kind of covered that.
Yeah.
And thirdly, A&E is a place that I adore. We have a fantastic team, but I think it is really important to self-educate and learn to, you know, look after yourself at home if you can. Yeah. Obviously, if you're becoming to the point where you're really unwell and you feel like you can't look after yourself anymore, you've stopped doing everything you can at home, then fine. You know, that's okay. And even if you've rang an ambulance and they've gone, you didn't really need us, that it's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. But it's just about that education and that awareness where, you know, we have a safer A&E and a safer space to work in, and we treat the people that actually need to be there. And that's what education and awareness is about. It's about finding the right way to treat yourself, the right ways to look after yourself, protect yourself. You know, so
physically and mentally, like in all subjects.
I'm not saying you're not allowed to go to A&E, because some things, you know, they do warrant A&E, and that's fine.
Exactly, yeah.
But the more that we learn to look after each other and ourselves, it's going to improve our services massively.
100%.
And the more awareness that you have, like, you know, if it's a rash, for example, unless you think it's meningitis, which fair enough, I'd say that warrants A&E sometimes.
Yeah. See, there's a trick that I learned.
But you know, for any other rashes and things, go to a pharmacist. Seek advice first, because, and even with things that are contagious, like if you think you've got influenza, for example, well, are you best sitting in an A&E waiting area, coughing it onto everyone else? Or are you best at home looking after yourself where you're safe and you're not spreading it to everybody else, you know? Yeah. Think first. Yeah. Is all I'm going to say.
Just to add on.
And if you warrant A&E, that's fine. Yeah. I'm not saying you're not landing.
Don't, yeah, we're not going to barge in.
I'm not going to stand at the door like, get out.
Yeah. It's like, again, it's a learning curve for all of us. I mean, I'm a mum to 2 boys and I'm still learning. Every day is a new day for me. Like, every day is I feel like a new teaching day. But, you know, we just carry on. Yeah. We get the notepads out and take notes.
Yeah, so... Anyway, what's next?
I feel like we were going to speak about the whole mental health side of things and how that can affect, obviously, people with epilepsy and other medical conditions. I feel like we have touched on it a fair bit, but I feel like excuse me, I do want to touch on it a little bit, because I feel like everyone is different. Like, me and you had a conversation before we Here comes the crime. But I feel like me and you had a conversation before, and you actually told me something I didn't know. So everyone on the planet will have intrusive thoughts, which is normal. It's a very normal thing. Whereas, we're going to take us for an example, because I don't really suffer with mental health issues, I would say, as much as you. I have anxiety, I have depression. That's fantastic, but I don't have them on a severe scale. I can kind of self do that. I'm not on any medication for it. So I can find other things to do. Like, I find cleaning very therapeutic. But recently, I haven't been 100% mentally, so I haven't been doing that. Whereas there's certain things you do. But anyway, I feel like when I go, oh, I've got an intrusive thought, which is like so normal for me, yours are on like a scale that is like 100 times worse. Yeah, because I could walk down the street and be like, just nothing, whereas you can walk down the street and be like, I don't even know what your intrusive thoughts do, but I'm gonna let you can explain what your brain is like.
So, God, I can't explain. We'll be here for a long time if we delve into it.
I just meant like your intrusive
So
thoughts.
basically, because I have, I'm going to say have it because it has been identified by my mental health team. However, I am waiting for psychology and I am waiting for follow-ups and things to further investigate.
It's queried right now.
Well, it's not queried, it is diagnosed, but it's awaiting improvement.
Okay.
And, further investigation. Yeah. So basically, as it stands, I have borderline personality disorder, previously known as emotionally unstable personality disorder, as well as PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Mm-hmm. And obviously, now they're querying ADHD too.
Just to throw that into the mix.
As if I didn't have enough.
It's like they've got a person and just gone, she's got this and she's got that. You know what? We'll just add a bit of this. Yeah. Add a bit of that. Just top it off, pinch of this, and then stirred it, and we've just created you.
It's like I am the soup with all the spices in it.
Yeah. You're the spicy
but in
soup.
A medical way.
Yeah.
I'm a soup of just broken and things that don't work, but it's fine. I get it and I make it work.
Yeah.
But anyway, so basically, my intrusive thoughts will be on. Today haven't had many. Okay.
And I feel like today they're probably going to be more funny.
Yeah.
Than anything.
And they're not always negative. Sometimes they're quite funny. I had an intrusive thought next to Sophie the other day, and honestly, I just burst out laughing. And I thought, I can't say that out loud. I just cannot say. And
it wasn't until I went, you can tell me what you said because I want to know what you're laughing at.
Lachlan, obviously you met Baby Dave on the last episode.
Yeah.
He was climbing up Soph, right?
I remember this one.
And my brain, now I don't think bad of Soph, I don't think she is this word, but my intrusive thoughts, they just went up on one. I was crying with laughter, I just couldn't stop laughing.
Because didn't he smack me? In the nice way.
So Lachlan's going up to her and he's like, trying to get her attention and trying to get her to pick him up. And she eventually reached for him, and my intrusive thought went, "Now cuddle me, you slag."
No, you said to me, it was like, "Now get me some milk, you slag," or something like that.
And honestly, it ruined me. I was just crying with laughter. But my intrusive thoughts do have a funny scale.
Yeah,
however,
I think that's hilarious.
Sometimes because of like my PTSD especially, my mental health can be quite triggered by things that sometimes are disclosed to me, or sometimes are brought up to me, or even sometimes because I went through life in certain ways where I feel like certain people failed me.
Yeah.
And when we do like children's safeguarding, adult safeguarding, sometimes I sit there and think, God, why didn't they pick that out for me?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, why didn't the school realise that? Do you know what? We didn't have that training then.
Yeah.
And it's like, even in my adult time, when I
Your
was in
adult
an
time.
abusive relationship,
Yeah.
you know, well, why did paramedics pick up on that? Why didn't people do that assessment? Why did?
Yeah.
But you know what? I made it through.
Yeah,
and
you
I'm
did.
fine, and it's
I'm
okay.
very proud of you.
But you know, when people talk about it, my intrusive thoughts will stop arguing with each other. We should have done this. If that happened, this would happen.
This should happen to you. That should have happened to them. And whatever.
And it's like they go on a wild scale because they almost make me like on them days. You can tell when I'm having a really bad day because I can't get anything done.
Yeah.
So on a normal day, I'll be able to go from washing up to the hoovering to, I'll come and see you, and then
you go home and do dinner and have
I'll
a bath
go home
and everything.
and everything's quite structured, and I'm okay. But there are days where my brain is just like one after the other, after the other, after the other, and like they can go from like positive to negative to dark, in that dark place of, we don't like to talk about it, but
the black hole of darkness is what we're going to call it. That's just
and it's it's hard to describe, but it's like having so many different people in your mind at the same time, just trying to picture a different thing.
Yeah.
And so many of them people are horrible.
Yeah.
And they're so mentally draining. And so sometimes I sit on the sofa and I'm like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I ain't going to move.
I'm going to sit here with my blanket, my cup of tea, and that will
I think this is why I work quite well at work, because I'm so distracted by what's going on around me. I'm able to block out them thoughts.
Yeah.
It's very rare that I go to work and struggle with those thoughts because there's so many other things to think about.
But I feel like you said, because there's so much structure for you at work, when you come home, as much as you can have a structure on your day off, sometimes it's nice to just want to relax and not get anything done. But then sometimes that's the time where your brain will go, oh, but then there's this, and there's this, and there's a pinch of that, and it's like, why now? Like, why today?
Yeah.
And you can see your mood change. Like, if you've had a really good day and you've come home from work or you've come to see mum, sometimes I know that when you start getting tired, that also happens. And then you're there, like, you go from being like, yeah, and then you just kind of slowly transition to, yeah, and then it's like, and you're like, okay, you need to go home and get some sleep.
Your brain is overwhelmed.
Yeah, like you can get very overwhelmed or overstimulated is a good word for it. But it happens.
I think with the intrusive thought side, so everyone has intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
It's very normal as a thought process, but for me, it's about how it impacts me, the severity of it, the context of them, and how it impacts my day-to-day life and way of living. And obviously there have been times where my intrusive thoughts have been like, throw yourself downstairs, take all of your meds, and I've become so close to giving in to that.
Yeah.
Where there was a point a few months ago where I literally gave all my medications to Michael and I said, just give me what I ask you to give me and don't give me any more than that.
Yeah.
Because I very nearly was like, I just want to take it all.
Yeah.
And
we're not saying
I've not taken an overdose of one particular thing or many things for a long time, and I just thought it's not worth it. I don't want to do that, and I need to be strong enough to fight that urge to do that. So luckily Michael was there, and I had my head in my hands and I was just crying, and eventually I did come out with it, and we did speak about what was going on in my head at that time. And obviously it was very dark, and it was a very horrible space to be in.
Yeah.
But it was just about recognising, right, I'm here. This is what I'm very close to doing. However, I'm going to stop myself from doing that. Michael's here. I'm safe. I'm going to give him what I need to give him, and we're going to get through this.
Yeah.
And it takes so much strength and willpower to do that, because it would have been so easy for me to go, do you know what, he ain't looking, he doesn't know what I'm taking, I'm just going to take it all.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to do that.
No, and I think just to touch on that, obviously there are people in the world who have struggled with mental health a lot, and they have taken overdoses and other things, and are now no longer with us. And I just want to say, if you are somebody who is struggling with mental health, the one thing that really helped me when I felt like going down there many years ago was someone told me the pain that you feel right now won't go away. The pain that you feel is going to get passed on to people that love you. So the pain that, say, you felt in that moment would be passed to mum and me and Michael and people that really care about you. So for you in that moment, it might feel like this one thing you can do is take all your meds or take it all. And it's like the willpower to do, like you said, the willpower that you had to go, no, I need to take my meds, but I can't overdose on it.
Yeah.
Is such a big thing. Like that, I'm very proud of you for that. And I feel like that should be recognised in a lot of people, because I'm sure there are a lot of people in the world who have done that too. So if you're one of them people, well done and thank you for still being here.
Yeah.
Just as a little positive message to go out there to people.
But yeah, it's true. Like obviously,
it's hard though, isn't
for
it?
those of you that don't know, you know, my dad committed suicide when I was 17, and it's so true
God,
that
long ago
you know the pain does get passed on to other people. And if I could go back and say to him, you know, the love I have for you is worth you staying.
Yeah.
And it's more than the pain you're feeling right now.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to feel that pain, and I don't want you to feel that pain, and together we should be able to get through that pain.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I was only 17. I was so young, and there was so much going on in my own life. And my dad committing suicide was such a surprise to all of us.
Yeah.
No one suspected that was going to happen. No one knew that was
but
going to happen.
That's so normal.
And you know, they always say, "Oh, it's the quiet ones you've got to
Yeah.
care for." You know, the people that say they're going to do it often don't.
Yeah.
And that's their cry for help. And I do agree with that in many, many ways. There are obviously people that make threats and do actually eventually go through with it.
Yeah.
And I think it's awful that we didn't prevent that from happening. But I also think, you know, ask your friends if they're okay.
Yeah.
Check in on those people that
I was just gonna say,
it.
just check in. Even a message might help them. Quick phone call might help them.
Yeah.
But there are obviously charities out there that will help too. Like you can text or call, or I think you can do. There's so much, isn't there? Like some people, there's a different variety. Like if you don't feel comfortable in face to face, like text or call them. Or if you do feel like you're in a crisis moment or having a really bad episode, at least call one person, because they could help you a lot.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's one thing we're very much here. I think we're very much like, we do understand mental health, and we understand that it is shit. Gonna put it straight. It's not nice. It's not nice to deal with anxiety. It's not nice to deal with depression or PTSD or, you know, the massive variety. Yeah, because there's so many. I'm not going to sit here and list them all because we'd be here for years. But just know that if you do come across this video and you do think, that's actually a really good message, thank you, just pass it on to someone else that you might know that might be struggling. Like having a conversation, have a cup of tea, have biscuits, you know. And it's such a small thing sometimes, isn't it? But I think we do need to leave this video on a positive note. So we are going to maybe going to change the subject and say that on Saturday, we are going on a night out, which is probably going to be my first proper night out since having Lachlan, and we're doing an 80s theme, which I'm very excited about. And I think we're going to post a short
of our outfits.
I might film a get ready with us, because we're not going to get ready together. I don't know. We're not sure yet. But we will do a get ready with us with good vibes, music, and God knows what, and laughs, because no doubt we'll end up dancing and being weird with one another. But that's what's going to happen. So we do have another channel that's
Yeah.
on my phone called Intrusivity Girl Talk,
Yeah.
which will be like more get ready with me,
Fashion,
vlogs,
makeup, that kind of
yeah,
thing.
you know,
Yeah.
like getting parcels and stuff and going through with you. So
Calls.
we've not yet, that's the word I was looking for. So we've not started it just yet, but we're planning on starting it
Yeah.
soon. So please keep your eyes peeled, and I think we're gonna end that there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we hope you guys have a good day. Please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We love you all.
Can I just say, we do love you all, but so many people, when we've put our first episode out, messaged me to say your comments are turned up. And I was
Use
like,
the comment section.
I know. So, but then I managed to turn the comments on.
Yeah.
Right? And I turned the comments on for episode 2 and 3. People are still messaging me.
The comments
If
are
you
turned
want to
on.
comment, guys.
Yes.
Because I obviously, when you've messaged me, I have already got back to you. But if you want us to do more of a, you know, interactive episode where we do get back to you on our episode, go to the comments, leave a comment, and we will get back to you in the next episode.
Definitely.
But we can't get back to you if all of your messages are, you know, well, we can get back to you if there are messages. But, you know, if
it makes it easier for both of us.
For us to look at when things are in the comments, and you know, it makes it easier for other people to interact with your comments, which gives us more to look at. So 100%. You know, the comments are turned on for all of the videos. Yes. So if you want to comment, guys,
please do so.
Stop messaging me saying, "Oh, they were turned off." Well, they're not turned off anymore.
Please leave a comment. We absolutely will make sure that are turned on for this video too. Yeah. So please comment, like, subscribe, share us to your friends and family, and we will see you
in the next one.
In the next one. Bye.